Alex, you certainly didn't disgrace yourself against Brighton. It was a strong performance. How does that help you in terms of getting ready for this weekend? The players must be confident because of that.
I think in terms of belief, I think we held our own for a long parts of the game against a really top Premier League team. I was extremely proud in terms of how they went about it. I thought we were really aggressive. We were really. It was an open game. I think the disappointment's probably just. I watched the sort of game back this morning as well, and we had good opportunities to counter. We had opportunities where I could pick that extra pass and slide that extra ball in to get an opportunity, and that's something we've just not done well enough. I think, but there's large parts of our game at the moment which are really good. I think in terms of control of games, we're not far away from where I'd like us to be. I just feel as if we're a couple of ingredients away from being as effective as I think it can be.
Tony Mowbray in his press conference this morning said Stoke get the ball forward well and are an attritional side. You'll know Sunderland far better than most Stoke fans. How do you sort of expect them to set up against you? And given that they've done well so far this season, it will be another difficult game.
Yeah, it'll be a tough match. I think that they've got good players. I think that they've got good momentum, haven't they? I think when you gain a promotion and when you're on the up, shall we say, I think in football you're really only ever going one way or the other. And I think that they're a team that dropping down the leagues obviously is a painful experience, but I think sometimes when you strip it back to the bricks and then you can build, I think sometimes that building, that foundation that you're building on solid then, and they're now starting to go that way. I think when you do get promoted, you can then relate that into the start of the next season, which they have. And I think they've got some really talented players, particularly at the top end of the pitch. I think they've got match winners and technicians that can look after the ball and can hurt you at any moment. So that's the threat that they carry, so we need to be aware of that.
Jack Clarke certainly is well known to Stoke fans. He was on loan here and certainly can provide a threat. They've also had a bit of a slump in the last couple of matches, so they'll be keen to get back on track, because when you look at it, they're ninth and they could still make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that they'll be just looking to try and win the next game. Like most teams, I don't think most teams get too carried away with the table. I think once the game start winding down, you start to then really take stock of where you are and what you need to do. Like you say, I think everybody across the season at some point has been a bit inconsistent. Obviously they haven't won the last couple of games, and they'll be looking to get back on track. So yeah.
When you look at the inconsistencies, I mean, there's a fine example in Stoke how inconsistent, as you've said yourself, one step forward, one step back. How do you feel that you're looking defensively now? Now you've got some extra players in. Do you feel that's where you want to be defensively?
Yeah, I think defensively we've been pretty strong. If you look at a lot of our recent matches, I think Millwall had one shot on target against us. Ultimately cost us a goal because we made a bad defensive decision. Blackpool had one deflected shot, it ends up in the back of our net. And I do believe that in football you need a little bit of rub of the green, and I don't think we've had that of late in some of the games. I think that our control over the games has been pretty good, and I think that the biggest thing we need to carry is a threat, and arguably that's been our biggest issue so far this season. But in terms of how we're playing, I think if you look at our sort of defensive elements of the team, they're in pretty good shape.
And Twan Zabi, he looks some player. If you can keep him fit, he'll be a great addition.
Yeah, I think Axel, obviously we knew he was going to take a bit of time to get him ready, and now that he looks ready, obviously that was arguably one of the toughest games to bring him into. I think that was our biggest distance covered this season as well, in terms of high intensity. So we asked a lot of him in that game, so we'll take stock of how he is today and tomorrow, and then obviously see how we go for Saturday.
You've talked about the frustrations with finishing. I guess the $1 million question is, how are you going to improve the finishing? Because you get into good opportunities and then don't quite do it. What can you do?
I think it's just repetition as much as anything else. I think that the window's shut now. Obviously we are where we are type thing, and I think that in general play, some of the runs have been good, some of the movement's been good, some of the opportunities have been good. But ultimately we need to be more clinical, whether that be clinical with a cross or clinical with a finish. And I think if we can add that element to our game, I'm always optimistic. We had this discussion I think before Swansea, and you're saying how do you think and I'm saying I think we'll win. I was really confident we would win, but I feel that way before most games, do you know what I mean, when I'm getting into it, because I think the preparation's good, I think the players look ready. But the games at this level are defined by key moments. You know, I watched Sunderland's game against Bristol City, and the first goal that they scored with Jack Clark, Bristol had just had 2 attacks, and I think Sunderland picked the ball at the right back area. Within 3 passes, the ball's in the back of the net. It wasn't one you could see coming, but it's that moment in the game, and Jack produces an unbelievable strike, and that's the difference between 1-0 up and obviously being level in the game. And they're the moments that we need to have more of. I'm
reluctant to ask too much, but how are we injury-wise?
I think injury-wise we're okay. You know, I think we've had a couple, so we've had obviously Ben Pearson missed the last game. He took more cramp in the game previous to that, so we'll sort of evaluate him over the next couple of days. Jags has had a bit of a break, which he needed, I think, so we'll see how he goes over the next couple of days. But yeah, we're not too bad.
Is Tesgel's injury getting better?
Yeah, it's getting better, but Emery's not going to be back anytime soon.
You're going back to your former club.
Yeah.
A lot of people will be disappointed at how you left. I'm assuming you'll just blank that out and go for the 3 points.
In terms of how I left, what people do is they attach their own narrative to that, don't they? You know, the one thing I'll say about Sunderland, right, is I feel extremely privileged to be given the opportunity to manage Sunderland. We had great success there in terms of the first time we'd won at Wembley, and I loved my time there, and it was a great time in my career. So as far as that goes, that's how I remember it, is fondly. You know, the people have their own opinion of different things, but I don't think anybody really knows all the sort of variables attached to it. So, and listen, I'm not going to get involved in any of that.
Thank you.
Alex, obviously you've got some plus points from the game against Brighton, and you've already admitted you're a big admirer of that. Is there anything you can implement from the way you saw the opposition play, particularly with the angles they created, because they did have a lot of possession? Is that something you'd like to implement into your team?
Yeah, I think we're a wee bit different stages at the moment though. You know, Brighton, obviously, in terms of recruiting players, are recruiting players for millions and millions of pounds, and I think they're operating at a level just now which is a really, really high level, isn't it? You know, I think that there is elements you can always take away for the game. There's always elements that you want to maybe incorporate into your own team, but we're trying to come up with patterns and try to come up with a way of playing that suits our current players, because I think that's how you've got to do it. There's no point in me coming in with an idea about this is how I want us to play, and the lads are struggling to do it that way. So we're trying to do it in a manner which suits them at the moment. And then obviously once we get to the summer, we'll then have kind of a clearer idea in terms of, right, this is how I want to do it and this is what we need.
Because you did acquit yourself well against obviously very good opposition. You're meeting good opposition on Saturday, of course. Does it help that you'll know a lot about their players individually? Does that help you, Alex?
Yeah, but I know a lot about them, but the fact is, though, when you're capable of cutting in and putting the ball in the top corner, whether I know about you or not, you're still capable of doing it. Do you know what I mean? So the threat that they'll carry will remain the threat. What we'll need to do is obviously be aware of the threat and try and cope with that as best we can, but equally hurt them going the other way. So the game's obviously got 2 sides to it. We'll need to be good without the ball, and we'll need to be good with the ball, and if we can do both well, we give ourselves a great opportunity.
But you've proved in the past you can go away and get those type of results. You've done it very effectively from time to time, haven't you?
Yeah, listen, I'm confident in the game that we can go there and get a result, so it'll be a good game.